I just I think I watched some videos with Zach. We watched our matches back, hung out with the PNW boys, and it was already like 3 o'clock.
I didn't know that you and Zach actually hung out and then watched your match together. So who's the one that presents that? Is that you being like, Zach, do you want to watch the match? That would be so much fun. We should just do that. Like, who's asking for that between the two of you?
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt too. So I mean, he just mentioned we're at like the after party. Like, there's no food open, and Eddie and Victor, they got like some food for all of us at this bar, and he's just like, yeah, me and Michael are gonna go back, to a hotel and like watch all the matches. And I was like, oh really? I'd love to watch those.
Now I'm realizing you invite yourself into this viewing party too. It's like, oh, do you guys need somebody else? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Hold on.
like,
Sorry, I dropped my belt. Oh God, let me just bring this with me. It's all good. What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I hope you're having a good day. I really do. Some days I say I don't. Not today. Today I'm in a good mood. Today I'm happy because we have a friend of the show who did big things. And I mean, I always like when I see our friends do big things. It's always cool because they come back, they win some shit. And when they win shit, they're happy to talk about it. And we're happy to talk with him about it. So thus, everybody's in a really good effing mood. But before we start getting into the actual conversation, oh my goodness, is this merch you can buy from the Grappling Hour? Yo, check this out. If you want to get a t-shirt, head on over to rafasparza.com/merch. You can get one of these official Grappling Hour t-shirts. And they even come usually, unless I forget, but I'm pretty good about this. They come with a nice little thank you because you guys support the show, and I really do appreciate that. So you can get one of those t-shirts. You can also get a hoodie. The t-shirts are $25. The hoodies, $45. Combination of the two. Just because I love you guys. $60. Just saying. It's a little bit of savings if you do math very quickly. If you don't, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Individually, okay deal. Combined, great deal. So you guys can go do that. It's a big support for the show. And while we're speaking about support of the show, if you guys really, really want to support the show, nothing helps us more than going on over to patreon.com. If you go to patreon.com, you can see these interviews 30 days before anybody else. So what does that mean exactly? That means that the rest of these yahoos, they see it for free 30 days after we do them. It kind of sucks, right? But if you're early access, you see them early. And if you want the premium shit, I'm talking that real good Grappling Hour stuff. What we do here is we offer you on the premium tier 2 segments per month at the very least. And those 2 segments are a combination of tape studies with the athletes where we break down their footage. We also do a segment called Roast Raf. For whatever reason, people really enjoy that one, where people see my competition footage, we watch it with the athletes, and they roast it. Nobody learns anything. I for sure do not learn anything on that. But we get together, we have a good laugh about it, and we move on. And we also do mini-sodes, aka extra episodes that we do with the athletes after we do the interview. So that's the kind of stuff that you can see here at the Grappling Hour if you go ahead and support us there. And a couple quick reminders before we get to the guest again. You can also like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's say right now you're watching this and you have no idea what you want to like or comment or, I guess, subscribe to. I guess those are the things. We're going to give you a prompt by the end of this episode that will allow you to figure out what it is that you would like to comment on by the very end. So we're going to, based on the conversation that we have here on the show. So stick around for that. And last but not least, if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show, we have a little Discord. You guys can join that. It's at Grappling Hour. I'll send you an invite, but just come on in. We'll let you in. Unless you're a weirdo. And listen, we do know that people are asking for feet pics. We just found a solicitation here on the show, and legitimately it happened within the past 10 minutes. And I got to tell you this, we're not doing it. It's not coming cheap. That's why we have a premium section. Like, y'all, let's not be gross. Let's give you real technique and whatnot. All right, speaking of technique and excellent work. Well, I can say this, which is It's really good when people who have been on the show go do big things. We love it. We love to see it. We love it when they put in the work and the work finally gets some kind of big recognition. And we've seen this guest win before at some really cool stuff. We've seen Ultimate Mat Warriors work. We've seen him do excellent things in the Pacific Northwest. But what's really dope for me is when I can see a person on a big stage like Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds, maybe even when he thought about doing EBI more than any kind of CJJ, and yet conquering that mountain and becoming a champion in his own right. I'm very happy to welcome back to the show your new Combat Jiu-Jitsu champion, one, Gabriel Austin Daffron. Sir, congratulations to you. How does it feel?
Feels amazing. Morning after, I feel like I have a hangover. I feel my body feels like shit. I caught 6 a.m. flight. I just stayed up the whole night, got back to Seattle. So, here we are. We're living the dream.
You had a great post speech that you were interviewed by Brandon McCatherine about. And one of the things that we were talking about, we laughed because you forgot to shout out your gym, which we'll do here plenty. But like you were saying, like, man, I got caught up in the moment. I love that. I thought that was a very real version of you. And you started off by talking about how you dreamt of doing EBI and how EBI kind of morphed into combat jiu-jitsu. What did that feel like? Did it feel like once they started going more to combat that you would never get your opportunity to do an EBI? Or did you start to see like, you know what, I actually have come to love combat jiu-jitsu and now the dream has changed just a little bit?
Yeah, I would say I just changed my aim where, initially, coming into jiu-jitsu, like EBI was my absolutely favorite thing to watch. I'd watch, pretty much all of them after three, but that really gave me a goal. When I was a blue belt, kind of early on, maybe even a white belt, to have something to like really look forward to, where I didn't think at that time, like ADCC was still huge, but for some reason, just I had like no idea. I didn't watch the ADCCs. I watched like every single EBI, and as time went on, that changed to combat jiu-jitsu. And I think my game coming in initially was more set for straight EBI, then I kind of adapted it towards combat jiu-jitsu.
Can you tell me what it was like when you got the initial call? Because, to get the call to be on the show is cool. You've had experience that with that before, but for this particular juncture, what did it feel like to get that call?
For this one, so I'm gonna be honest. After I did my first combat jiu-jitsu, Eddie told me, he said, any combat jiu-jitsu, any EBI you want to be on, you're on. So I just, I called them. I saw the poster and I said, hey, I just broke my hand. This is gonna be a great comeback for me to back into competition, and hopefully I don't break my hand again. So
Let's stay here for a second because I was trying to put these two things together. So on your Instagram, the very first pinned photo over to the left-hand side is an x-ray of your hand. Now you're mentioning it, and I'm trying to put these things together. When did this injury happen, and how long into recovery were you trying to then take that spot?
it happened like pretty close to my birthday, actually. I think it was November 19th. I had a smoker and I was planning on doing a professional MMA fight. I was going to do it, but I did the smoker, broke my hand on the guy's nose and dropped the guy. And then they gave him like time to recover, like, because it was a smoker. So then I ended up, continuing this fight with a broken hand, and they ended up stopping it 2 more times. And I went back to my corner. I remember right away, I was like, I think I broke my hand. And funny enough, one of my corners was like, no, I think you got a jam, knuckle or something like that. You'll be fine. Just jab and kick. You'll be good.
Okay. Yeah, not great. Not super fun. Now, the smoker happens, so you kind of get that experience. But that doesn't mean you have to sign up for combat jiu-jitsu. A smart person, not saying you're not smart, but maybe a smart person might be like, you know what, maybe combat where I kind of need this hand to do some stuff isn't my first choice. And yet you, after breaking the hand, say, I know what I should do. This really insane event where I'm going to be slapping the shit out of people.
Yeah, so it was about 3 months as far as my recovery time. And I want to say I knew about the combat jiu-jitsu probably in early February, maybe late January. So I was on the road to recovery. And I just always feel like having a name, having something to, look forward to in the morning helps you heal faster. It gives you something to look forward to, something to aim towards. And I just think I needed that at the time.
Understand. Like sometimes you need that additional push. And you're right. Like sometimes having a very goal oriented sort of mindset will help you kind of get that recovery. Because most people, it's easy to let that kind of pain or that kind of roadblock stifle your growth as a martial artist. So you're right. In that respect, it is very, very good. It's the part that worries me, though, that you start figuring out, like, as I tell people, I know what I can do for my jiu-jitsu. The uncertainty is always the thing you try to reduce in terms of what other people can do to you. So in that regard, it is one of the tougher tests that you can do in jiu-jitsu. So I will stop there for just a second. You know, you've been on the show before, and I always like to ask people at a certain point when they do their origin story, why they go transitioning from jiu-jitsu to MMA. For your particular case, I know you so well from your jiu-jitsu work. What was the intention or what was the reason behind starting to make more forays into the MMA?
I think when I initially trained jiu-jitsu was for MMA. That's kind of what got me into it. And I never lost sight of that. And I think at a certain point, it's like, hey, you have your black belt, you haven't accomplished all your goals in jiu-jitsu, but I would say this was actually one of the biggest like goals for me as far as my jiu-jitsu. Like this is something I've been since day one. I definitely wanted to be an EBI champion, and that turned again into the combat. But this has been like one of the biggest aims for me, especially being a smaller athlete too. I just always felt like they had that 35 division. Didn't matter. I took the 45, but it's been one of my bucket list kind of goals in jiu-jitsu. But I did have the goal of like getting into mixed martial arts and using my jiu-jitsu to fight. And you get reminded of that, like, hey, why'd you start? You got your black belt, you've done all these things, and it's just as a martial artist, I feel like it's quite the goal to go out there in your underwear and get in a fist fight.
When you really extrapolate it down to that, it really is what it is. It's like what I tell people when, your pro wrestling fans are like, this dude's fighting this dude in the underwear. And you just go, it's just what it is. Like, all right. Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. You definitely summarized that very well. I want to ask this too, before we go back to combat jiu-jitsu, which is, what did you like the most about modifying your training to more of an MMA mindset? Because I've seen you integrate wrestling really well. I like how you do that. You're obviously very well versed as an overall jiu-jitsu martial artist. But for me, I just wondered, what did it feel like to add on those extra layers? And what did you take to the most?
So the integration, just the skills in mixed martial arts, like what did I pick up from that?
Yeah, well, for me, like, it's definitely different training. So when you're about to go for a fight, what did you find that broadening that from just the jiu-jitsu side and maybe even just the combat side to now a whole MMA aspect? I was wondering what it is that you liked about that broadening process.
I guess probably the clinch work, mixing in my grappling into striking someone with like my knee or my elbow in that close range. Like I just felt like it was fluid in like the transition, where sometimes I'll do like my wrestling transition, but then I'd add that to like a good knee to the liver or something like that, or like a foot sweep or some kind of foot block into some strikes, into a takedown, back into striking, like that kind of flow. I just felt like I naturally pick that up without obviously having been taught that, other than being taught wrestling or judo. Um, I've trained that and then training some clinch work, but just mixing those two together felt pretty effortless.
Well, it also helped to kind of give us and paint a bigger picture as to you going back to the CJJ Worlds. So let's go to the tournament in itself. What did it feel like to make your arrival there? I mean, dude, it looked like a really, really hyped crowd, and I bet that had to feel really good.
It was a really sick event in Mexico City. The crowd was hyped. I will say, I could not breathe in that venue, so I spent 90% of the time outside. So I wasn't in the venue. I was just outside. I had trouble, just the smoke, elevation, pollution, really everything. It was insanely hot. I just didn't. It was hard for me to stay in the backstage area, so I just zoned everything out. I said, forget, whoever's competing. I don't need to worry about that. I just need to focus on myself. I went outside and kind of in between matches, cooled down every time. I waited outside until I was up in one.
This makes sense because you live in beautiful Seattle, and I probably liken it to the fact of Captain Planet being taken around pollution, where you come from this beautiful area where all of a sudden you're like, oh no, oh, smog, shit. So it takes you probably a few extra seconds to get to that, plus the elevation. Elevation's a motherfucker, dude. So having to adjust to that, I don't envy anybody. Even when I go out to like Colorado, when I would go visit Kevin and train with him there, I was always on his turf, and I was like, dude, this is hard just there.
Yeah, the one thing I regret is, in preparation for this event, I should have probably smoked about a pack of cigarettes a day to get ready for it, because that's what it felt like. Not that I've smoked, but man, it was hard breathing that air.
I believe that. And you know what? That does paint a very different picture, because I wanted to ask this too. When did you find out about the regulations switch? Because I didn't learn about it until we were on air, and I go, how's this already 6 minutes? And then I saw, oh, they switched the time. When did you guys learn about that? Was that at the rules meeting, or had you known about that beforehand?
That's a good question. I learned about it probably about the same time you learned about it.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. So hold on. Were the prep round time in your head, like, were you prepping for those 10-minute rounds?
Honestly, I've been prepping for, I want to say I've been prepping for ADCC trials. So a lot of our training has been 6 minutes and then 3 minutes of overtime. And I will say the hard training I have during the week, we do 5 to 6 minutes. And then we do like a little, we call it conjugate training. Like we do weights in between, but like we go hard in the paint, for 5 to 6 minutes, to the point where you're just totally exhausted. So I was training shorter durations on my rounds. So that wasn't a big deal.
No, kudos to you, man. I recently did a Naga where I had put in the old people division, and they slid me down in one of the two, because I actually signed up for 2 divisions. They slid me down in one of them to the adult division. And for Naga, for whatever reason, old people, I guess they don't want to see us for too long, and I don't blame them. They do 4 minutes. And so all of a sudden, when they slid me down to adult, I wasn't even mad that they slid me down for these killers who are 18 plus and way faster and stronger than me. I was more so like, yo, bro, I was looking at 4 minutes in old people time. 4 minutes in old people time is much more manageable than 6 minute in adult, you don't know what this kid's been doing time. And I just was like, oh God, this is terrible.
Yeah, that could do it to you. These 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds coming out for Naga, that could really feel like an eternity.
It's more
150%.
It's more so like this, that you're just like, all right, this is the fate I'm choosing. And yeah, all right. So yeah, no, I definitely had a good laugh about it afterwards, because it's hard to explain to people where you're like, dude, I can roll with old people, like fellow old people forever. But you start getting these young guns who want to kill you for a belt. It's going to be a hard day at the office at the very least, to put it mildly. So, my trading partners seem to enjoy that one. And, I think it'll be good content for the roast ref segment, but this isn't about me. It's about you. Let's get back to this. So let's talk about where your matches pick up. What does your first match feel like? If you were already feeling that way when you were there, was the acclimation happening just during weigh-ins? Because I have to imagine it had to get worse once you had your first match in terms of how it was impacting you.
Yeah, so I came 5 days early just to get in a couple workouts before and really feel it. And I felt like that actually helped quite a bit on knowing where the health bar is for this tournament. But as soon as I get out there, I get a good warm up in, break a good sweat, and I had like a 90-second match, and it was probably the longest 90 seconds of my life. I was exhausted. I've never been more tired in my life doing that short of time duration. So
Understood. So let's do this. You have your first match. It goes well. Like one of my favorite things about you on your side is when I saw you kind of leading off the charge. Because again, I always love how they do the brackets, and I try to study that very, very well. And I see where our friends on the show fall. And, I could immediately see right then and there. I was like, damn, dude, the Pacific Northwest boys may be going up against each other, because I saw Zach was there too. And I thought you guys, there was a part of me selfishly that actually really wanted you guys in the final. Like I was just like, damn, that would have been a hell of a good final. But being what it may,
it was kind of the final and the semifinals. Like I played it super tactical against Zach. Like I was 0-2 going into the Zach matches, and I said, we're gonna be tactical. I got a call from Aislinn, and she was telling me, Aislinn O'Connell, she won Medusa. You guys don't know, so she's already won the championship. She's like, I don't want you doing anything stupid to put yourself out of position, because when I grapple, sometimes I grapple for the fans, sometimes I grapple for the highlights. But she was telling me, she's like, you need to play it tight. You need to play it tight. None of this getting out of position. None of this taking big risks for no reason. Like, you got to be tight against Zach. And that's exactly what I did that match. And I was very tactical.
You were, but it was also, she's very right on the money when she's saying that, because I'll tell you this much. I was telling you off air that I was cleaning at the gym and putting away stuff like my camera equipment and all that. And it's a pretty detailed process. So it takes me about 45 minutes, an hour or so. So I'm at the gym and I'm watching this go on. And I think in his second round, Zach had a hit that cracked so hard in his match that I thought I was like, the sound had been amplified. So I was like, yo, and I messaged him as well. I was like, hey man, you had a great showing. Congrats. Should be very proud of it. And he's like, thanks, bro. I go, I also learned you will never be allowed to hit me. Like, didn't like that. Didn't look cool. So when she's telling you that and you have to play a tighter game, like, he found a very quick opening where it can just change things very quickly. And it's more so that you just don't want to be caught off guard with those things while trying to do whatever you're trying to do. So I'm in agreement with it, but it worked very much to your advantage. I want to ask this. Was there anything that kind of surprised you in terms of the competition for those first couple rounds?
No. I thought I might have a tougher match against Michael. That was the only thing that really surprised me. Just because he's familiar with me. He knew what I was good at, but I was still able to find an opening. So, I mean, that was the only thing that surprised me, I think, is how quickly I was able to take out some of these guys. Not to sound cocky or anything, but it just was a little bit quicker than I had expected. I expected, some really tough matches. So,
I mean, listen, time might be a social construct, but it's also what we're used here to figure out how long it has for certain matches. And you looked pretty good, man. I mean, the whole day I thought you were zoned in, you were dialed in, and it was fun watching that journey, because to me, even when you're talking about it, like, again, on Zach's side, where I thought I saw him and Julian's match, I said, oh, that's going to be a fire match. And he made short work of Julian there. And I thought, man, credit to him, but then it builds to that thing where you go, oh, I wonder how this match between you and him is going to go. And then it's a great match too. So you have all these different things where, Yeah, you looked good. There's no getting around that. There's no reason to pretend like you didn't have a great tournament. When did you know that you were going to be like walking away with this tournament? Like, when did it set in that you knew you were winning this?
When I heel hooked the guy and threw my mouth guard and walked off.
So talk to me about how you set that up then.
Funny. So funny enough, Spencer Mummy, we actually like to call him the Weed Man, because this guy he likes his marijuana. There's nothing wrong with that. But this guy, he came into Jiu-Jitsu OT smelling like dank right off the plane. I'm like, man, is it even legal in Texas? I don't even think it is.
Okay, and to be very clear, when you go to a 10th Planet event, somebody smelling like weed is not necessarily going to be out of the picture.
Yes, for sure. Usually that's part of the process.
So because you had that connection with him, how did that impact what was going on? Or what were you mentioning about how that had a relation to this Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds with Spencer?
Okay, so Spencer, like right before, he's like, this kid can't heel slip. You should test him out on the legs. He's like, I couldn't get there, but I felt like if I was able to get to his legs, I'd have been able to finish. He's like, I know you have the game to finish there. So I was like, all right, change my mindset a little bit.
So he was okay. So hold on. Let's go back and profile this, because I was wondering how the weed played a role in this, but it sounds like some very wise person on a substance came into your life and yelled at you very quickly and was like, my son, the heel, you can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah, exactly. He was just like the wise Buddha, but that was my experience with him prior. So we just always called him the Weed Man from Texas. When he pulled off that upset, and then he came in and he gave me some good advice right before the match, and it changed my mindset where I was thinking a little bit more conservative. Like, this is gonna probably go to the overtime. It's gonna be a tough match. Blah blah blah. And then we said that, I was like, I'm gonna break this guy's leg.
And to be honest, I mean, dude, what a great pull, because he was on a tear that day as well.
Was he?
Well, are you wait, so are you talking about your what is that? Your second match or your last match?
Oh, okay, yeah. I was thinking Spencer. But yeah. I was thinking my last match.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Spencer. Didn't mean to set that up like that was at you. No. I'm saying like your opponent.
Okay, yeah. He was having a good day. I didn't see it until after, just because I was outside the venue. So I just, I assumed, he was tough. For some reason, I thought he got a flying triangle. But it was just a regular triangle when I watched it back. But no, he had a really good day. I wasn't expecting him in the finals either.
It just no, I mean, he was definitely blowing up, and he definitely caught my attention. And when I saw it was down to you guys, I said, hey, that's going to be actually a really fun match. And then you ended it very quickly. So all of us in our heads were like, yo, it's going to be fire. It's going to be, oh, it's done. Oh, well, I guess we can go home now. Okay, well, that's it. So good business for you. But for us, the reason why we thought it was looking like such a fire match on paper was because we're just like, yo, he's got a great story of how he's been coming through the day. You've been there. You're the experienced vet. I mean, it's going to be back and forth. We'll see. And then for you to read it like that, it was a truly great moment. And it was a really cool thing to see, because I think we were talking a little bit off air on how quick it was if you didn't catch it or see it initially. So immediately we saw you get up and feel this rush of energy. I should ask this. In that moment, what did it feel like to you? Like, you put up a post today that was just kind of summarized what it is. Do you mind telling us what it was that you were summarizing? Because I think it tells the tale and a journey of what you went through to get there.
So, did you see the Facebook post? Which post do you see?
I saw the Facebook post.
Okay, so I just, I said, my training time, I was like, 10 years of jiu-jitsu training, 4 years of being in combat jiu-jitsu, 6 events, 1 world championship. And, really just to symbolize all the hard work all the failures, all the trials, tribulations, there's times that, I think initially coming into this, they thought I was going to like be able to pull off a combat jiu-jitsu world title, like pretty early on. Then, it felt like people kind of gave up on me, but I never lost belief that I was going to win the title. I set that out as one of my goals, and I knew one day it would be my day.
And it was. And I mean, dude, the look on your face, just how you were celebrating it, it was cool. It was very nice to see. I do have a qualifying question here though, because were they insinuating here, because maybe I didn't hear it right, always a possibility, but when they were insinuating here if you're going to be a defending champion, I thought I heard you saying like, nah, this is like a one and done. What did I hear incorrectly if I did, or what did you mean by that?
I was saying like in the lead up, like, hey, I might just ride off into the sunset on this. The biggest mistake I see the champions make is they return to the mountain they already climbed. So will I be returning? I definitely have the goal of going into mixed martial arts, and I've done 2 professional fights since I've done the combat jiu-jitsu. So I think really just ending it with like, hey, I'm a world champion. Sometimes you don't need the sequel. The sequel's never as good as the original. But we'll see. Like a 135 title might be something that interests me as well. I definitely always thought I'd win the 135 combat jiu-jitsu. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely gonna focus my energy on mixed martial arts and taking more of a professional outlook on that, instead of like going between like, oh, we're doing combat jiu-jitsu the next 6 months, oh, we're doing professional MMA the next 6 months. Like I think being more focused on one thing now that I have this world championship is going to be in my immediate future. So
Godfather, Toy Story 2, The Dark Knight. Just saying, there are some sequels that are better.
There are some, okay. But I think the vast majority of sequels often let you down.
Understood. I just wanted to point that out because once you said that, it was weird because in my brain, I couldn't figure out if that was adrenaline speaking and you were just kind of like, yo, I'm good. This was fun. Or, hearing you now mention how you do have these aspirations to do other things in mixed martial arts and to continue pursuing that, it would make all the reason in the world. It's just you looked like you were in your element competing as a drug, and it looked like if that's the case, even chasing that high again is something that is both achievable for you and something that if you were interested in, it could yield another kind of great result. So just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Hey, I'm not going to rule it out. But I will say definitely in the short term, I'd like to improve as a mixed martial artist and give that another go. Just coming back from my hand breaking, that was kind of my setback. So, coming back, getting this combat jiu-jitsu world title is definitely a big, boost for my ego, because this is one of, again, my long-term goals that like I set out to do, and it's off the list.
As you should be, and you should definitely be very proud of it. I should ask this now. How does your hand feel after this weekend? Because to me, I have joked that sometimes jiu-jitsu is just protecting each other from your own injuries. Like really, it's not even trying to kill somebody, just to make sure the other person can't injure you more, because everybody comes in with some kind of injury onto these things. But how does your hand feel after such an intense competition?
The hand feels good. No issues with the hands. So.
Good, man. Very good to hear. So having said all of that, we talked about the future of that and how that goes. What was it like to actually make your way home? So let me get this straight. When you said that you were up until 6 a.m., I guess I know what could happen, but what does one do when they are up to 6 a.m. and just trying to stay awake, but in Mexico?
The usual, cocaine, strippers, ecstasy, all that's in the mix. No. I just I think I watched some videos with Zach. We watched our matches back, hung out with the PNW boys, and it was already like 3:00 my flight was at 6 a.m. So I caught an Uber at 3:30, went to the airport, got a coffee, all said and done, like I'm there probably 4:30, before the flight. So it's just an hour and a half. They board, like 5:15. So I was just, I was pretty much nonstop. I caught my flight back up to Vancouver. Actually, I had a layover, then went to Seattle. So long day.
This is news to me because I didn't know that you and Zach actually hung out and then watched your match together. So who's the one that presents that? Is that you being like, oh, what's this doing here? Oh, this championship. Oh, Zach, do you want to watch the match? That would be so much fun. We should just do that. Like, who's asking for that between the two of you?
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt too. So I mean, he just mentioned we're at like, the after party. Like, there's no food open, and Eddie and Victor, they got like, some food for all of us at this bar, and he's just like, yeah, me and Michael are gonna go back, to a hotel and like watch all the matches. And I was like, oh, really? I'd love to watch those.
Oh, hold on. So hold on. Now I'm realizing you invite yourself into this viewing party too. It's like, oh, do you guys need somebody else? Oh my God. Hold on. Like, sorry, I dropped my belt. Oh God. Let me just bring this with me. It's all good. No, I love you guys. You're my friends. Anyway, can I have the remote? Let me just rewind to my good parts. Okay.
I was like, who, me? That's exactly who took that belt. No, but yeah. So I pretty much invited myself into that viewing party. That was an accurate statement there.
Fair enough. Sorry. Sometimes when I don't have the facts, I have to try and figure out the exact story myself. And like I said, I mean, you could do worse than Zach. 'Cause Zach is level-headed, good individual, very fun to watch. And I did know that you guys were at least cool with each other. You've kind of had those moments in the past where you have competed against each other. But to me, I was just like, friendship or not, I just know you guys are good for matches. So I thought that's pretty cool. And to know that continued all the way to afterwards where you guys could sit and watch and laugh. Did you guys have any kind of humorous moments while rewatching it? Or did anything stick out to you that maybe you didn't see during the actual live element that you were watching?
Nothing in particular. Definitely a little close on, like, I think him getting up and the slap that I threw, but nothing off the top of my head that was like I didn't see that moment. Sometimes in, like, the heat of battle, like, you don't really remember the whole match. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I was on top with a kind of like a front headlock. Oh yeah, I pulled guard once. He pulled guard once. Like, just stuff like that. The finer details.
I like to tell people, it's one thing to watch matches with the person who did it, for one of these roast draft editions. We're trying to so this guy highlight reeled Flying Darsme, and he's actually somebody I've wanted to interview. And so I was like, I was just like, damn, I was like, this kid's really good. And I went up to him afterwards and I was like, hey man, you've been on my radar to interview, but they gave me a match with you instead. And he's just like, oh my God. I was like, no. I go, it's all good. I go, you should come on the show. And I've never had that case where somebody who I've wanted to interview would possibly have ever competed against me. So I was like, oh, you have to do the roast rap segment. Like, your penance is you have to walk us through what happened and make fun of it. And he's like, oh, okay. So yeah, I think he has a good sense of humor about it. But to me, it's just like, that's one thing. If you slap me, I feel like there are some friendships that may have a thing where, yeah, we had a match against each other. We're trying to kill each other. But I think that idea of like, oh, hey, yeah, man. Yeah, I did try to slap you there. Like, I think that's a different level of viewing party to have with a friend.
For sure. I would say this one was not as violent as our first encounter. So, I mean, we've had 3 encounters, and definitely, there's been something I've taken away from all of them. But I think after that first match, everything's pretty much, less violent from there.
Understood. So that's got to be pretty cool. What did the celebration feel like when you got back home? Because I know you had a lot of people who were very stoked for you. They've been on that journey as well, and must have been very excited for you, sir.
Yeah, I'm teaching class tonight. It's back to the normal grind. I haven't seen a ton of people. Other than Eastland, really not too many people. I got like a million messages, stuff like that. still trying to, answer all of them, get back to everybody. But tonight's back to business as usual. We got ADCC trials this coming week, and then after that, opening up the gym and doing everything else.
We're going to branch off into two different topic sections off of that one statement. The first is going to be what I like to refer to as Coach Gabe, or Coach Gabriel, if you would, because I've had the honor of seeing you coach, and I think that you're a very, very solid coach. The work that I've seen you behind the scenes with Ace and kind of giving her like notes and how you guys work together, it's really cool to see, and having seen that in person, super dope. But how have you enjoyed being on the other side and being more of a coach and growing into that role more?
I enjoy it. It's definitely a hard balance between that and competing. And I would say, as far as like being a competitor, you have to be selfish. You have to put yourself in the best position. And being a coach is the complete opposite, where you have to be selfless and you have to give whatever you can to the athlete to either help their confidence, set a game plan. Whatever they need, you need to attend to. And, they get 100% of the credit. Then you put yourself in kind of the background where you're the hype man, or, you're whatever they need at that time.
Yeah, I will say I've been told that my distinguishing trait as a coach, I always thought it would just be like the shits and giggles coach, like the one that makes you feel relaxed and tells you jokes and does all that. I have been told that my gift is patience. So especially on a bad day when they're being any kind of insane or having something or something's bad happening or whatever, they're always like, you just come in level. And I go, yeah, very few things bother me. So I think every coach has their distinguishing skill or thing that they do. So for you, what do you think is kind of that thing that you have that you found as you've been going throughout the years?
I think the number one thing is just very passionate as a coach and an individual. So I would have to ask, obviously, my athletes and stuff like that.
Sure. But it's also been, you've seen some great success with your students as well. So I think it was cool for me on my side to say, hey, it's nice for you to get that kind of return on this stage, because, you had done such a great job with Aislinn over with Medusa. And I thought that was a great moment for you guys. And she's been killing it at a number of different competitions. But on this one, it just felt uniquely yours. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing I got back to, is just isolating myself, not focusing on anybody else in that tournament except myself, and just getting back to that, isolation, having my eye on the prize, and, taking it one match at a time. That was the key to this tournament, is just one match at a time. Every match, is the finals. Be disciplined. With Zach, that was definitely something I had it as a game plan. But other than that, it was getting back to just focusing on me, scrapping, and trying to have as little mat time as possible, especially with the elevation.
Absolutely. Let's go to this, which is, you also mentioned about opening up a gym. And for me, super stoked about that. It does seem like things are in working in advance now time so that you can open up the gym. So tell us a little bit about that process of what it's been like to start gathering those elements to get ready to open up your own gym, sir.
We're looking at mat suppliers, just getting all the cleaning supplies, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, looking at our LLC, deciding if we want to switch it up from, my name to the Jiu-Jitsu name of the school. Just small details, going back and forth with the attorney, just stuff you wouldn't really think about as, somebody who's just an instructor at a gym. You got to be really the guy that does everything. It's like you're in the movie theaters, you're taking the tickets, you're getting them the popcorn, you're playing the film. Like, you got to be all those guys, including the coach,
Yeah, somebody's watching one of those movies and being like, did he act in it too? I think he just recreated the Fast and the Furious. They got to Hot Wheels for some strange reason, and it was a hand guiding that car, but okay, I see it. I would ask this, though. What are you looking forward to the most in having your own gym that is going to be uniquely yours and is going to be something that you are going to bring all of your years of expertise to?
I'm looking forward to building, younger athletes up and giving them the opportunity to, come out to combat jiu-jitsu worlds, or getting them past that regional circuit and helping them, pursue their dreams and their goals as a competitor.
So having said that, let's look at this. I always like to ask people who are about to open up a gym this question, and it's an important one, which is people are having more and more places where they can go to train. So having said that, if I'm somebody who's new, or I'm somebody that you're trying to entice to come to your gym, why your gym over maybe anybody else's in the surrounding area?
Number one thing is, I'm passionate and I give the time. Like I'm the guy at, all the practices. Our practices, are 2 hours long for our advanced classes. For our fundamentals, we're doing an hour and 15 minutes, but I'm the guy that'll be there, at the practice. I'll be there after the practice. I'll answer all your questions. People, I don't get a lot of private lessons. The only people I get private lessons from are guys that don't come to my class, because I give 110% in each of my classes. And it's just the guys that are like, oh, this class is a little bit too hard. I can't train with this guy. This guy's crazy. That really get private lessons from me. But if you come to my class, I'm an open book, and I try to put my athletes or my students in the best position to get better. And I take it from an individual standpoint, where I don't teach them necessarily like a certain style. I look at the strengths and weaknesses of the athletes.
All right, that does check out. I can definitely vouch for you as one of those individuals who puts in that time, and you definitely. I mean, you're there, dude. I've run into you at a couple different tournaments, and you are always really attentive to your athletes. You put in the time. It's always fun to watch, and I just appreciate that about what it is that you offer. Having said all of this, though, when you're doing this, like in a year, what do you foresee as your gym? Like, what do you foresee as like a distinguishing trait about your gym? Like, what do you see happening to your gym in like 1 year's time?
In 1 year's time, I think we're going to have an established competition team. I really think that we're going to be able to take all the local tournaments in the area for Nogi. I just think already the quality of our athletes is much higher than the vast majority of the PNWs as far as like Nogi athletes. We're not going to have a lot of athletes. That's one thing I'll say is like the people that we have are quality, but how I run the classes and stuff isn't great for maybe the vast majority, where it's just like, I'm not great for a room of like 100 people. Our group is like, 10 to 15 to 18 people in the room, and they get individualized attention. So I would say we're going to have high quality individuals, but we're not going to have like a Gracie Baja where we have like, 100 athletes come out to these competitions. But the athletes we do have come out for the regional scene are going to do really well.
All right. I mean, you're going to have quality over quantity is what's going to happen over at your gym.
I believe so. I believe so. And like we have a lot of professionals that are really tough roles in the gym that beat up a lot of these younger kids. They don't want to compete. They just want to be martial artists. They want to learn. And that's a good majority of our crew too. The reason we're so successful is because we have guys like that are working at Amazon, working at Google, but then they're killers on the mat, and they beat the crap out of like the 22-year-olds and the 23-year-olds we have.
Now, having said all this, you outlined a very good thing. I like the idea that maybe that's in recognition of the fact that you may also have plans. So what do you foresee the rest of your 2024 looking like?
I'm going to make a return to mixed martial arts. I'm going to get hopefully a couple of professional mixed martial arts fights. So
now for you, like how many MMA fights do you envision for your future? Like overall, like do you envision it's going to be a lot of fights, or is it one of those things where you just want to test yourself a few more times and then kind of dive into the school and make that a thing? Like where do you fall in that?
I'd like our school to focus on, high level jiu-jitsu and getting some athletes out to the bigger competitions like the ADCC trials and combat jiu-jitsu and, some bigger events. I don't think we're going to dive into mixed martial arts, but for myself, I promised myself I'd do 3 professional fights last year, and I broke my hand on a smoker. I got 2 done. I would like to hopefully, go on a winning streak the next couple fights and fight on a bigger promotion. I mean, that's the short-term goal right now.
I got you. So we're gonna have to find ways to keep you in jiu-jitsu. I don't know how we do that, but I'm hearing out loud. You're gonna be one of those guys who's stepping away from us for a little bit potentially, unless we make things interesting for you.
Yes, I'd like to make a run for mixed martial arts is the major goal right now, especially now that I've checked this one kind of off the bucket list.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate you. As we get to the end of the show, I always like to give an opportunity to our guests to go ahead and shout out their teams, their sponsors, anybody who helped them bring home this big win. So I'm going to put the camera on you. Feel free to go ahead and shout out whomever and whatever you like, sir.
Awesome. So big help for this camp was Dreamwalk Coffee, Jiu-Jitsu, and Ancient Elite Performance, along with Coffee and Gamoras. And I want to give another shout out to Rebellion Jiu-Jitsu, who helped me out with my comp training and some strength and conditioning, as well as all my teammates at Kindred Jiu-Jitsu, now becoming Definitive Jiu-Jitsu. It was a long process there where, over the course of a long period of time, we were able to finally get that world championship. So, as well as Dr. B for keeping my neck straight.
Perhaps one of the most important people of all the people, if they're making sure your neck's going to be okay in a very complicated combat sport. But hey, man, I just wanted to say this to you. Congratulations are in order. I know how hard you've worked. And as somebody who's always been good to us here on the show, I had a big smile on my face when you were able to finally put that belt around the waist, around the shoulder. You carry it well in distinction. And as much as I hate to see you do more MMA stuff, don't get me wrong. I like it. It's good. It's good for you. I eagerly await to see you back at another jiu-jitsu event in the near future. But big congrats to you, sir.
And we do have some big news of, Eastland potentially on getting on UFC Fight Pass Invitational in May. So keep an eye out for that.
Oh, that would be dope. And you know what? And you know what? That would be super dope. She definitely deserves it. And we will definitely have our eyes out for that. That's going to be really good. And man, what a good play from them. So kudos to them for doing their homework. But cheers to you. Cheers to the team, man. And good luck in opening the gym. I look forward to seeing all about it on your social media, sir.
I appreciate it, brother.
All right, ladies and gents. That's going to do it for us here. But before we get on out of here, a few quick reminders. First and foremost, check out this merch. You like this? You want this? You got to get this. Check this out. There's a Grappling Hour t-shirt. It is $25 online. You can get it over at rapsparza.com/merch. You can also get a hoodie there because guess what? It's cold. My man was freezing in the rain over there. So you can get yourself a nice little hoodie, make things all nice, warm, and comfortable. Or if you're going out to competition, wear that Grappling Hour hoodie for some extra submissions. Can't prove it. FDA tells me I cannot say that legally, but I'm going to say it anyways. So go out there, compete with that shit. Additionally, some other stuff to remember. If you guys like the show and you want to see these interviews 30 days before anybody else, check us out at grapplinghour.com. Or honestly, go on over to patreon.com/grapplinghour. That's the one you really should go to. So patreon.com/grapplinghour. If you go there, you can see our interviews 30 days before anybody else, and you can check out our premium editions of stuff, including tape studies with the athletes, where we break down their matches with the athletes. You can also watch our segment called Roast Raf, where people roast my competition footage. Or you can even, you You can even see minisodes that you yourselves pitch to me every so often here on the show. So those are the things we got on over on that side for the premium offers. And we're about to start doing some ADCC profiles. And I'm very excited about this. This is going straight for our premium users. So that means we're going to audit some of their matches. We're going to give you their tendencies, and we're going to do studies on what they're great at. So that way you are well prepped and educated and informed for the big ADCC dance this August. So last couple things, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you were here and you made it all the way to the end of this video and you want to know what we're going to comment on, in the comment section, I would love to know this. Would you be able to actually watch an event with a person who you just competed with, and if they had slapped you in that match? So think about that logically and tell me who that person would be. So tag that person in the comment section on who you would watch that match with, that you're buddies with, even after they slap you in the face. So there's that. And join us on the Discord to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. And ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.